Hi guys, John from P&P Campers. Just going to be doing a handover video on this Swift Gazelle. So it's a W reg, which is basically 2000 or 2001. So based on the Fiat Ducato chassis. And so what I'll do is I'll start under the bonnet, walk you around here, and then we'll go all the way around the outside, and then I'll show you through the inside as well. So on the near side, or sorry, this is actually the off side, so the left-hand side of the under the bonnet, we've got your engine battery. So you shouldn't have to do anything with that. It's just literally actually starter battery just there. Your brake fluid attached to the servo just at the back there is this one here with the little blue cap. Your engine oil goes in through this cap just here at the top of the engine, and you have got the engine oil dipstick just down here. That's the orange one down here at the front. You've then got, because you've got power steering in the vehicle, you've got a power steering reservoir just up here at the top. Should be a nice sort of red colour. All right. So you have got a couple of chassis plates. So the original Fiat one is this one here. But the one that you actually want to look at is the one that says Swift Group on it over here. Reason for that is that the weights on the Swift one will be very slightly different to the one on the on the original Fiat one, sorry. So if you ever needed to actually get your real dimensions and weights and, you know, all that sort of stuff, axle weights, that's on this one here at the left. You've then got your engine coolant up here on the right hand side. The engine's cold at the moment, which is why it's down sort of a little bit lower, but it's perfectly fine. Air filter sits inside this box over here on the right, and then you've got your washer fluid reservoir over on the right. Just to the near side at the front here, you've got your diesel filling point. So to actually get that to open up, you just push on the left hand side of it and it will open up all the way. You will need your ignition key to get this to open up, but that is where you fill up your diesel. There's nothing to show you on the inside of the passenger side really. It's all just kind of, you know, glove box and stuff that you'd find out anyway. You have got up here, you have got a door retainer just there for the habitation door. Again, inside the actual hab door, there's not much to show you. I will run you through all the control panel and stuff like that as we get inside. I have fitted you a new awning light. The old one was, to be honest, full of greenery and no good at all. So I have had to replace that for a brand new one. So you've got that there. And I've also fitted a little switch on the bottom right-hand corner of the control panel because there wasn't a switch for the original one anyway. So I've fitted a switch there for you so that you can sort of turn that on and off as and when you want to. So these two vents just here. So these are both to do with the fridge. So if you have got the fridge working on gas, then you'll feel nice hot air coming out through the top right-hand side of this vent. So that is a way of just sort of double checking that it's definitely working or not. But this is just basically access to the back of the fridge if you ever needed it. You have actually got in here, which I'll show you when we get inside, but the fridge that you've got in here is actually a much newer version of the one that would have been fitted from standard. So, you know, it's a really, really nice thing to have. A nice modern fridge it makes a world of difference. So down here on the rear near side, you've got your wastewater drain off point. So if you twist this open, you'll get some fresh wastewater coming out. I haven't got much in there at the moment, to be fair, but that is where you would drain out your wastewater. The actual back of the van, not much to show you at all, to be honest. You've got, you know, nothing that I need to point out. You've got a nice big window here, obviously. No sort of cracks or breaks in this whatsoever. Your spare wheel sits underneath just here. So you have got a nice bit of access just here for that. Fingers crossed you won't need it, but just in case you do, that is where it is. So the offside has got a few more sort of lockers and bits and bobs for me to show you. So at the very back of the offside here, we have got your freshwater filling point. Okay, so that is where you fill up your fresh water. To the right of that, we've got this vent just here. So if I just explain something just briefly. So the original water heater in this particular vehicle would have been what's called a Carver water heater. The Carvers, which we've got a couple of the old ones over there on the top, but the Carvers are really quite sort of, I mean, they're reliable and stuff, but they're a little bit, going a bit out of fashion, if you like. So a lot of the time, you'll find that on these sort of slightly older vans, the ones that have got Carvers anyway, you'll find that they have these sort of cover plates, and then they've upgraded the water heating system to what's called a Malaga heater or a Propex heater. So that's what has been done on here. Just in case you wondered why there was this kind of plate around here, it's because it's been replaced for a slightly more modern unit. Much like the fridge, it's been replaced for a more modern unit. So just keeping up with the modern, appliances that come out really. So that's why that's got that plate on it. But this is your water heater vent. So again, if you have this lit up on gas, you'll feel nice warm air coming out through here. So the next thing we get to is your electric hookup point. So I've got the hookup plugged in, as you can see. So having the electric hookup plugged in means that you can use all of your mains powered appliances, which include the fridge, space heater, water heater. All of those three things you can use on gas as well. Either way is fine. But having access to this and having this plugged in means that you don't have to worry about your leisure battery voltage. When you plug this in, the charger comes to life and basically starts throwing loads of power into the leisure battery, which, by the way, sits underneath the driver's seat in this particular vehicle. But as I say, if you do have access to a mains cable, it just literally means that you don't have to worry about your voltage, and it means that you can use all of your mains powered appliances, which I'll show you when we get inside. Next to that, we've got your gas locker. So it's a little bit dark in here, sorry about that, but the gas locker, you've got a bulkhead regulator. Now, when this van was built, again, in keeping with the sort of upgrading the van for the more modern stuff, this would have had what's called a bottle top regulator. So that means that the regulator itself, which is this thing, would have been a really old-fashioned kind of screw-on to the top of the bottle top regulator, which is fine, and you can still go back to that if you want to because of the age of the van. But what I've done, because there was a different bulkhead regulator on here before, which wasn't really very good, I've replaced it for one of our new, so this is a brand new regulator and pigtail hose here. So you've got a brand new GOC regulator there. So you haven't got to do anything with this regulator, all right? All you need to know is that you've got 5 years on this pigtail hose before you need to replace it, or at least it can be 5 years old. And when you come to replacing this bottle, all you need to do is, sorry about that, the little noise is just there. You got to undo this little nut just here on the bottle itself, take the pigtail off, and then literally undo this little thing here, and that'll allow you to take the bottle out. So it's nice and easy. But basically, to turn the bottle on, you go anti-clockwise on the valve on the top, which you probably can't see, which is helpful, isn't it? But anti-clockwise on the valve at the top will turn the bottle on, and clockwise all the way down until it stops will turn the bottle off. So that's the gas locker. Not, it's very self-explanatory, but I just have to run you through those little bits and pieces. I would also say that it's really good practice to turn the gas bottle off before you start driving. Pretty much just because if you were in a crash, the very, very last thing that you want in the event of a crash is 30 millibars of propane pumping into the van somewhere. So that is a big, big no-no, to be honest. So please make sure that you turn the gas off before you start driving. Next locker along is your toilet cassette locker. So this is a Thetford toilet cassette. So to remove the actual cassette itself, you lift up on the little yellow tab here at the bottom, pull the cassette towards you, and then you'll be able to take that all the way out. Okay, so that's how you would take it out to walk it away and empty it. To empty it out, twist this open and then open up from the yellow cap. Okay, so that's where you drain it out from. When you're physically tipping it up and draining it out from there, hold down this little yellow button at the back, which you'll find is actually very easy because your hand has to go at the back there anyway, which is why they put it there. And it's basically just an air pressure release valve, and it helps everything come out from here. Not really much else to it, apart from the fact that your blue fluid goes back inside here. And this, you'll find when you take this out, it's actually got some measurements on it, so you can use this as a measuring cup for the blue fluid. Push that all the way back in until it clicks like you just heard there, and then shut the door. That's it. Right, so in the cab, like a lot of the other things, it is fairly straightforward in here. So not a huge amount that I need to run you through. You have got, to be fair, you have got quite a few nice little bits and pieces on here like you wouldn't get as standard. Two of those things being the electric windows, which might not sound like a lot, but that is most definitely not a standard thing on this particular age of vehicle. And another thing that's really definitely not a standard thing is the electric adjusting mirrors from here as well. So a nice modern cab from standard. So whoever bought this brand new would have, you know, spent a few quid speccing it up. But you'll probably find, now don't quote me on this, but you'll probably find that with these two here, they'll be back to front, as in the left-hand one will do the right-hand window and the right-hand one will do the left-hand window. And the reason for that is that these switches here are made for left-hand drive vehicles. So, you know, if you imagine there, it would be correct then. But anyway, there you go. So, electric adjusting mirrors from there. I believe, there you go, the horn has been sort of put over here on the right from this little red switch. Reason being, at some point in its life, the standard horn placement, which is under here, must have gone wrong. That was just like how it was when we got it, to be honest. But there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. That's absolutely fine for an MOT. So the electric adjusting mirrors, you've got this little dial here, which you can select which mirror you want to move and then move it around like a little joystick. Okay, so that is literally simple as that on that one. Next to that, you've got your headlight adjustments. So you can adjust your headlamps. The only real reason that you would normally do that is if you were towing something and you needed to adjust the lights to go down a little bit. So if you imagine if you're towing something, the back of the van comes down a little bit so the headlights go up. So that's why you would adjust those. But you haven't actually got a tow bar on this anyway, so unlikely to be towing anything. But anyway, there you go. To the left of that, this one here is your lights. So you've got side lights and then full beam. You've then also got your washers and wipers from here on the right hand stalk. On this particular age of cab, the indicators and flash sides, so the left hand stalks, are sometimes a little bit confusing. So I always like to run through these. Now, once I've explained it, you'll probably think, oh, you know, you don't have to explain that because that's simple, but I just like to anyway. So normally on your average car, you would have just one stalk over on this left hand side, wouldn't you? So you'd have single stalk, one that just goes up and down for the indicators and does that for the flashing. On this particular one, you've got a front stalk, which is just for the indicators. Okay, so that literally doesn't do anything apart from the indicators at the front here. Indicators at the front. And at the back, you've got flash to pull towards you. And you can set the full beam to full time by pulling it down. So full beam all the time is pulling this back one down, and then flashing is that one there. Okay. To the left of that, we've got obviously your gear stick. So you've got a 5-speed manual gearbox. To select reverse, you go over and down to the bottom right-hand side, and that'll select you into reverse. You've got your hazard warning lights from here, which you can see lights up on the actual switch itself. Below that, we've got your heater controls. So you've got the heater speed, so the fan speed, basically. So you've got 1 through to 4. You've then got your temperature selector, so you've got hot and cold. And then on the left-hand side, you've got your standard sort of basically telling where the fan to blow the air to. So you've got your windscreen on the left-hand side, you know, feet only, feet and face, all that sort of stuff. So you can go through there and adjust all that if you want to. You've also got, down below that, you've got a nice modern-looking single-DIN Pioneer head unit. I can see it's got a CD player, DAB, all the standard stuff that you might sort of come to expect nowadays. You'll see that it's actually popped out a little bit at the moment, and the reason for that is on the motorhomes, it's always good practice to pop those out when you're leaving the vehicle. The reason I say that is some vehicles are like it, some vehicles aren't, but you tend to find on the motorhomes on these cabs that they will draw a very small amount of power whilst they're plugged in, even if you have them turned off. So obviously on a motorhome, you tend to leave it for a little bit longer than you would maybe a car. So a lot of the time we find people will say, oh, the engine battery's died, I can't start the van up. And we'll say, well, is your radio front plugged in? And they'll say yes. And that's normally the reason why. So just a little tip there. That's why we leave them popped out. So as I said, the leisure battery sits under the driver's seat just here. Before I carry on and show you the rest of the van, I will just point out one other thing. So I have written this on the habitation sheet, but you can probably just about see on this offside overcab window, you've got some slight crazing on the inside pane of this window. Now, all of these motorhome windows are double glazed, okay? So this is really not the end of the world whatsoever. But the reason that this has done this, all right, and again, this is like it as we got it, but the reason that this is like this is because somebody's had some stickers on here. Now, these windows, the perspex that they use to make these windows up, do not like stickers. All right, I can tell you that for a fact. So when you put stickers on them, they tend to craze up behind, which is why that's happened. Windows for the motorhomes are ridiculously expensive. So, you know, if you're looking at getting one of these windows, you're probably looking at least £400 or £500 for that window there. Okay, so hence why we haven't replaced it. But as I said, these windows are double glazed, so that is not going to make any shred of a difference to it keeping water out and working perfectly fine. So just in case you looked at that and thought, oh, that's a little bit funny, you know, that's why. And no, it's not going to make any difference to the window at all. All right, but I thought I'd just mention that, just be quite transparent about that. All the rest of the windows are in really, really nice condition. I can't fault them at all. As I say, I've just done the habitation check and they're all looking very, very good. Very, very slight crazing around this little handle down here, but again, that's only on the inside panes. It's not going to make any difference at all. But yeah, overall, as I was going through and doing the habitation check, everything was working, everything was lighting up. So I think the previous owner has obviously been using this a fair amount, which is always a good thing actually with the motorhomes. A lot of the time when we find people haven't used the van for a long time, that's when we find that they have the most issues. So yeah, I couldn't really find anything wrong with this, really. Just little bits and pieces which I've done. So first thing I'll run you through is going to be the control panel up here. So first of all, the little switch in the bottom right hand side here is the one that I said will do your awning light. Okay, so the original one had a switch on the actual light itself outside, which, you know, is okay, but also a little bit daft, because if you wanted to put the awning light on from inside the van, you know, you couldn't before. You had to get outside the van and reach up to it. So now you've got this little switch just here, which I've fitted, so you can turn the awning light on and off from inside. Okay, so that's what the little switch here does. These two switches here will do the lights on the ceiling. Okay, just literally noticed that that light there isn't on. It was on about 5 minutes ago. So I'll sort that little bulb out there. But anyway, so these two switches here are for your ceiling lights. Okay. So the rest of the lights, the rest of the control panel is super straightforward. So you've got, on the left-hand side is your battery selector, hence the little battery symbol there. So where I've got it now going down is basically selecting the leisure battery, which is the battery that we obviously want to use. If we were to go up to the vehicle battery and start turning on all of our lights and stuff like that and powering things up, then, you know, for obvious reasons, the vehicle battery is going to go flat. So we don't want that because we won't be able to drive the van. So if we're going to use power in the back end of the van, it needs to go down to the caravan symbol here, and we'll then be using the leisure battery. Above that, the little gauge that says battery condition is showing us the battery voltage in whichever battery we've got selected on this selector. So first things first, I've replaced the leisure battery in here. This is a brand new leisure battery under here. The old one was okay, it was sort of mediocre, but it was a bit old and it wasn't really holding much of a charge. So I've replaced that for a brand new battery down there. So even if I was to unplug the hookup, I would imagine that even with all the lights on in here, the battery symbol here will still be up into the green. But the reason that it's all the way up absolutely to the top is because we've got the hookup plugged in and our battery charger is on and charging that leisure battery up. So that's why I said on the outside, it is nice to have the option of having the hookup plugged in, because then you can go ahead and do whatever you want and you do not have to worry about the battery's voltage at all, because it will be up at the maximum all the time. The next one over, the little red switch here, is your water pump. So you've got what's called an inline water pump in here, which means that it works on pressure. So essentially, if you don't have enough water in the tank, or there's a leak somewhere or something like that, when you turn this pump on, you'll find that the pump will just run itself and run itself and run itself and won't turn itself off. So at the moment, because I've gone and done the habitation check and, you know, sorted any leaks and stuff like that, the pump isn't running when I turn the power to it on, which is a good thing. Okay, so really, with an inline pump, the pump itself should only run when you try and draw the water through to the tap. So I know that you won't be able to hear it on the video, or you might, I don't know, but when I turn the tap on, no, you won't be able to hear it. But the pump is now running. I can hear it in person. Pump's running, pump's running. When I turn the tap off, pump turns itself straight off. You might find, with an inline pump, you might find that the pump will run on for sort of 5 or 6 seconds or so after you've turned the tap off. That's perfectly fine as well. That just means that it's getting itself back up to pressure and then turning itself off. So I would also say as well that it's good practice to turn the switch off just there when you're not using the pump. The reason I say that is that, you know, you might think to yourself, well, you just said that it won't run until you use the tap. That's true, and it shouldn't run unless you use a tap. But if you find that, even just for example, let's just say you're asleep one night and the pump is just running on and you don't realize, then you're going to burn the pump out. It's going to, you know, you're going to end up burning it out. So it's just important, you know, if you're not using it, you might as well just turn this little switch off. It doesn't take very long to do that. So there you go. So over on the right hand side, the last thing on the control panel is your water level. So you've got push up for the wastewater level, which you can see is empty because the waste tank is empty, and then push down for the freshwater level. So it kind of flicked up a little bit just there, and the reason for that is that it is pretty much empty. There's a bit of water in it, but not much whatsoever, so it won't quite show you an actual level. As soon as you start putting more water into the tank, it will show you incrementally how much is in it. But that is it. That is the control panel. So the rest of the van is essentially just going to be talking about the appliances and things now. So first thing I'll run you through is going to be the fridge. That's just the first one here. And then I'll sort of show you around the rest of them. So, as I mentioned, you've got a slightly newer, actually quite a lot newer to be fair, than the original fridge. This is a Dometic 3-way fridge. Now the original fridge would have been a 3-way fridge as well, but having this nice modern Dometic one in here, I promise, is going to be very helpful. The older fridges are okay, but you do need to be a lot more cautious on, you know, getting them serviced all the time and all that sort of stuff. Whereas these ones tend to be a bit more reliable, really, just because they're a bit more modern, obviously. So the three options that you've got, as I said, this is a 3-way fridge, okay? So the three options that you've got to cool the fridge down are, if I just zoom in a little bit, you've got electric, as in 240 volt electric hookup, which is the one that I've got selected at the moment. You've got 12 volt, which is the little battery symbol, which is when your engine is running. Or you've got gas, which is the one down at the bottom. Okay, so at the moment, I haven't got the gas on, so I can't use it on gas. So that's why I haven't selected that one. I haven't got the engine running, so I can't use it on the 12 volt. But I do have the electric hookup plugged in. So at the moment, the mains hookup element in the back of the fridge is heating up and in turn cooling the fridge down. All right, so that's all you need to do to use it on the mains. If you want to use it on the gas, you go all the way down to the bottom to the little gas symbol. And then all you need to do is come over to the right-hand side, push in on your gas valve and in on your ignition. And basically just watch this little gauge on the right and it should start going up into the green. There you go, it is going up into the green. It must just be using a little bit of excess gas. And essentially I'm just holding on to this valve here for a sec, just to allow that thermocouple to warm up. And I'll let go of it. Now, as long as that little orange handle there, the little orange bar, stays up in the green, then the fridge is lit. That's it. That's all you need to do. As soon as that little orange bar goes back down into the white area, that means that the flame has gone out. So if I show you this, if I turn this off on the left-hand side from gas, if you watch the little orange bar, straight down into the white, which means that the flame's gone out. So that is the 3 ways that you can use the fridge. The 12 volt is the only one that I haven't really explained. The camera's focusing a little bit weird. Sorry about that. So the 12 volt, the little battery symbol there, is a little bit different to the other two. So the other two here, the mains and the gas, will get the fridge cold, no problem at all. It will do its job. After about 2 or 3 hours, this fridge will be cold. If you select 12 volt with the engine running, all it really does is hold the temperature inside the fridge whilst you drive. It's not really powerful enough to get the fridge cold by itself. So the idea behind these fridges, and that's the same for all of the motorhome fridges, is that you need to pre-cool the fridge before you leave, either on the mains or the gas, and then switch over to 12 volt just for when you're driving. When you get to wherever you're going and you park up and you're at a campsite or whatever, you can switch back over to one of the other two. But as I say, the 12 volt is really just for when your engine's running. So that is the fridge. I shall leave that on for a little bit just to, I mean, I've already checked it, but I'll just make sure it does get cold again. Right, the hob. So you've got an ignition here at the top. Okay. Some of the ignitions, I'll be honest, are a little bit iffy. So I did go through and I fixed all of the ignitions. 3 out of like 5 of them weren't working. But they are a little bit iffy. Again, to be honest, the reason for that is that behind the oven, which I know sounds a little bit silly for them to put it in that place, I agree. Behind the oven, there's this tiny little box, literally only about that big, which is your ignition box. And essentially you've got power going to it and then power coming out for each one of the ignitions that it needs. Anyway, it's behind the oven, and other than dismantling this whole area here just to get to that one little igniter box, there's not really any other way of doing it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave you a nice brand new clicker, an igniter, a long reach lighter, just in case any of these start playing up again, just so that you can use that instead. It's a big job really to take that out just to get to that. So but if that's something that bothers you in the future, you can get in touch with us and we can sort of see if we can get on and do it. But for the time being, I tend to just give people one of these lighters because people tend to actually more prefer using those anyway. But there you go, long story short, 3 burner hob at the top and a grill underneath. The oven down here also works. Oh god, I shouldn't have let go of that. Also works with the ignition switch, I believe. Yes, it does. So I don't tend to spend much time on these because they are literally just 3 burner gas hob and an oven. It's very straightforward. The space heater, which is your Carver space heater just down here. First thing I'm going to mention straight away is that inside the wardrobe here, you have got a little switch which says Fan Master on it, and there's a little red light on it. Okay, so the little switch down there with the red light on it needs to be turned on only if you want to use the heating on mains. Okay, that's really important. If you don't want to use the heating on the mains, you need to make sure that you switch that off. So I'll explain why in a second. So the actual Carver space heater here works on either gas or mains. So you've got the option of lighting it up on gas over here on the right hand side, and it will literally just get the unit hot, and then you can put the fan on if you want to. So that's by doing this. So if I show you how to light it up on the gas, twist the valve round like so, and you'll hear straight away, you can hear there's a ignition going on. What I'm going to do now, push down, and when the flame lights up, you'll get a little green light come up on the actual top of it. So that means the green light there means that the flame is on. So now at the moment, this is our pilot flame. Okay, so all the time that I'm holding it down like this, that's your pilot flame. When I lift up and twist it around, main flame kicks in. We get the green light come back on again, but now the main flame is kicked in, and actually in person you'll be able to hear that it comes on nicely. All right, so that's how you would use the gas side of the heater. Now over here on the left, you have also got the option of switching the fan on. Let's go back to that one. And that's blowing some nice warm air through there now. Just get it to the right position. Okay, one at the back will adjust the fan speed, so you can turn it down if you don't want too much air pumping through, but there you go. Okay, so the first one there, the one that's lit up at the moment, is the fan only. So that's kind of the setup. If you were going to use it on the gas, you would light it up on the gas over here, select the first one there, which is your fan, and then adjust the fan speed with this one. Okay, so that's how you would go about using that up there. You can turn it all the way back to there for turning the gas off. Okay, and that'll just literally turn the gas off completely from the system. On the left hand side, the reason that I said about the switch inside the wardrobe there, the one that says Fan Master on it, is that you have got, on this particular heater, you have got the option of using it on gas or electric. So if I was to use it on the gas, I would, as I said before, select the fan one here and use the gas valve over on the right hand side. But if I wanted to use it on the mains, I can select any one of these three over here. So you've got mains heating with no fan, mains heating with a bit of fan, and mains heating with full power. So that is all you need to do. If you wanted to use it on the mains, you select one of these last three here, and it will basically just start heating up the van. It will just start heating up the elements in the back of here and pumping through nice warm air through to the vents. And it really, really is as easy as that. Okay. So that is the space heater, nice and easy from there. Now inside the wardrobe as well, you have got your mains trip switches over on the right hand side. So I don't know why the camera's doing this. Mains trip switches over on the right hand side. So that's for, you know, if you were hooked up on the mains and you wanted to, you know, you couldn't get anything to work on the mains, then that's where you'd want to look first. Obviously, the other thing that won't work at all unless your hookup's plugged in are your 3-pin household sockets. So, you know, again, as another probably the most common question that we get is, why aren't my 3-pin sockets not working when you're parked up on the side of the road? Well, because you haven't got the mains cable plugged in. You have to have mains power coming in from the outside of the van in order to use those sockets. The little 12 volt ones, one that say 12 volt on them, they will work when the power is switched on because they work from the leisure battery. But yeah, the other ones won't do anything. The last appliance I need to show you is going to be your water heating. So the water heater is, again, as I say, is a Malaga water heater. Now, the Malaga water heater is the easiest thing in the world to use. Literally anybody can do this. So you've got two switches. You've got one on the left which says gas, and one on the right that says 230 volt. So you can probably imagine already how it works. But literally, if you want to use it on the gas, if you want to get the water hot on the gas, you push down on the gas one, and that will then light up and show you a little light. And if you want to use it on the mains, you push down on the right hand one, and it will start working on the mains. And that literally is it. There you go, little green light coming on there, means that the gas flame has lit up. And that's it. That is all you need to do. Turn them both off if you want to turn it off. And after about an hour of having that on, you'll have nice hot water coming through to all of your taps. Doesn't get much easier than that. I think the last thing I need to run you through is going to be the bathroom. The bathrooms I very rarely spend much time on at all because they are just so self-explanatory. But the sink here, you've got obviously tap over there and your two valves here. So you've got the hot tap on the left, cold tap on the right. The shower, again, same taps over there on the right hand side, but obviously shower head comes out up here. Toilet is the only part that I tend to actually explain because it's the only bit that you might not know. So you've got a little blue switch over on the right hand side. When you press that button, if the water pump is turned on, you'll get water pumping through into the actual toilet cassette itself. Once you've gone to the toilet, you can then open up this handle down here, pulling it towards you. That will drain out whatever's inside the bowl here into the cassette. Make sure that you push that handle back once you've drained it out into the cassette. And that is it. That is literally all you need to do. So, yeah, very, very straightforward and easy. You've got a switch up here for the lights. And that is it, to be honest. I don't think there's much else to show you. So, if there's anything else you want me going over or anything you want explaining again, just give us a shout. But otherwise, we look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks very much.